Hi there everyone. My name is Wes Salisbury, and as part of this session we're going to be diving into the Dynamic Allocations module inside of Sage Intacct. One of the neat things about the Dynamic Allocations module is it allows you to automatically and programmatically take things like pooled costs, maybe in a particular department or a particular project code, and take those costs and allocate them out based on some type of computed percentage. An example of this would be allocating out salaries based on number of hours worked on particular programs, or fringes allocated out to departments based on the percentage of salary expense that each department had. There's many other ways in which you can configure the allocations module to spread costs or even revenues even. But as part of this quick session, I'm just going to show how salaries may be allocated based on number of hours worked by program. So first of all, under General Ledger is where the Dynamic Allocation module lives. Under the Setup tab is where you will set up your various allocation definitions, and just a quick example of what an account allocation definition is essentially if you set up an allocation methodology where you take salary and then allocate it out based on number of hours worked, or fringes based on how much in salary each department had, or maintenance costs for a building based on building square footage. Each one of those would be a separate definition, and you can place those definitions in an account allocation group, and a group is just a container of several or potentially many definitions. But the cool thing with groups is that you can put them in the exact order in which you need them to run, so that if you have an instance where you take the balance of one account and then allocate it out, and then the next allocation takes that balance and then allocates it out, it supports that because it allows you to order your allocations in a logical way. Some people call this methodology waterfall allocations. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to the All tab, and under the All tab is where we have all of our, or this is where we have the ability to then generate the allocation process at will. You can set up allocations on a recurring basis if you want to make these kind of automatic to run every month, but as part of this, I'm just going to show you quickly what it would look like to run an allocation just when you're all done with your postings and you want to perform your allocation. I'm going to go ahead and click on Generate Allocation here, and then I'll just say I want my GL posting date to be December 31st, 21, and I want this to run as of 12/31/21. What this means, the reason why we have two fields here is because it gives you the flexibility to do something like this, where let's just say you want to take December's results, December's general ledger balances, and you want to allocate them, but you want the allocation to post in January. This is just how you would do that, and I wanted to just show the flexibility that you could do this if you wanted, although in most cases the GL posting date and the as of date will be the same. And then down here we just have the ability to run either individual allocations, or if we want to run them in a group. So I'm not going to do this right now because when I hit the generate button, it can sometimes take a couple minutes to process the allocation. So I'll go ahead and show you one that's already completed. But if I wanted to run my allocation group for my essentially my salary distribution to program and department, I can select that group, and then I can see here that it's going to run two allocations for me. It's going to allocate my salary by program as well as my fringe benefits. So like I said, that can take a couple minutes, but I'll go ahead and jump into my View Allocation Log button here, which will show me all the activity that has happened so far. So up here at the very top, these are the most recent allocations I ran. I have 2 lines here that ran. However, this one for fringe benefits failed because for December I didn't have any. I didn't have any fringe benefits, so it gave me an error saying I can't compute for a 0 balance. You can't take 0 and divide it into other things. So I'm going to hone in on salary by program, which did pass. And since it did pass, it had something to allocate. I'll go ahead and click on the View button here for journal entry. And this is going to pull up the journal entry that it used to perform the allocation. Now, starting from the bottom up here, we can see that the credit distribution here takes salaries out of the shared project and the shared department and zeroes that out. It reverses out the balance in the pool in which you're pulling it from, and it gets allocated out to various combinations of projects and departments in various dollar amounts here. So this is what the end entry looks like. However, one of the important pieces of doing allocations is whoever is looking at the allocation needs to know how it is you calculated these balances and how you arrived at what you arrived at. And the way in which that's done is if I click into this button that says under description that says allocated entry for salaries by program, it will show me an allocation snapshot that shows me who initiated it, when did it run, and it otherwise explains the methodology and things like that. But what I wanted to show you really quickly is when an allocation runs, there's a source pool of costs or whatever it is you're allocating. There's a source pool where we define what it is we're allocating. In this case, we are allocating salaries and wages expense. In particular, we're looking for any salaries and wages expense tagged to project or grant 998. That was the shared cost code that we saw earlier. And then the way in which it goes about figuring out what the percentages are, it's using, well, whatever it uses whatever you configure it to be. But in this case, it's using project hours. And the end user who's looking at this can get a quick reference as to, well, what hours were allocated where. They can click on where it says See Basis Calculation, and that will allow them to download an Excel file. And within Excel, it will give me just a quick report that says, and by the way, account number S002 is hours worked. It's taking that account and it's looking at all the, this balance column here represents how many hours were worked in each combination of department and project. So for department 100, project 100, 15 hours were worked. Department 110, project 110, 11 hours were worked. So Intacct is using these statistical account balances, non-financial account balances, as a means to calculate out the final percentages. Finally, if I click into this See Dynamic Split Calculation link, it's going to give me a quick breakdown as to what the final detailed percentages are or were for this allocation. So we can see here, out to several decimal places, the expense was allocated 17.85714% to Department 100, Project 100. And then the detailed percentages for Department 100, Project 120, so on and so forth until you arrive at a total allocation of 100% to indicate 100% of the cost was allocated. And with that, those are the key functions of the Dynamic Allocations module inside of Sage Intacct. That was everything I wanted to show, so thank you for your time, and we'll see you on another session.